Well, it's amazing how much things can change over a 10-year period. Apparently including the general appearance of a person. Let's discuss. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So episode 6 of House of the Dragon takes a much more significant time jump than we've seen previously. And yes, that does come with the recasting of some characters, most notably Rhaenyra and Queen Alicent. I did mention in my previous review how this change could work or be completely jarring depending on how the show presents it to us. After seeing it play out, I've come to the conclusion that I'm somewhere in between. On one hand, I thought the new actresses did a decent job portraying these already established characters, and continuing what we already know about them. On the other hand, I did find it slightly awkward that the show decided to pick and choose which characters would get recasted. Why? Like, shouldn't Sir Criston have been recasted as well? It was kind of weird to see that his character seemingly didn't age at all over a 10-year span, while the two female leads are nearly unrecognizable after the same amount of time. Some may call that a nitpick, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Because at the time when seeing it, it does take you out of the story ever so slightly. It wasn't enough to ruin the whole experience for me, but still it's worth mentioning.
Let's gut the freaking nerd.
This episode primarily deals with these two former best friends, and the tension rising between them because they each possess very different ideologies. Granted, Alicent sleeping with Rhaenyra's father and having kids with him probably didn't help either, but Alicent does seem to be much more traditional and by the book, more willing to do what's right by this time period's social standards. On the flip side of things, Rhaenyra is still trying to be defiant at every chance that she gets. Instead, she is challenging those social standards and trying to fight back against them.
But you one crazy ass bitch!
A story came out over the weekend where the showrunners supposedly revealed that they told star Olivia Cooke, who plays Alicent, to play her character like a quote-unquote Trump supporter. Now that's an interesting choice of words and an interesting marketing strategy, as always. Why they feel the need to reveal this information publicly and make it definitively about politics, I do not understand.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
This is the issue with these not-so-hidden messages in modern entertainment, and why revealing this stuff in the media is typically detrimental to the story that you're trying to tell. I've made it very clear that I hate politics with a passion, and that I will never talk them on this channel. But when showrunners say things like this, and it happens more often than you think, and now the audience will have these predetermined notions about her character before they even watch it. And I just don't think that's wise from a storytelling perspective.
That makes sense.
For one, politics are very divisive. We all know that. And talk like this could turn a lot of viewers off, and I just don't understand why you would want to limit your audience. And again, I preach this consistently on this channel, but why not let your material speak for itself? Why do we have to make it definitively about this? I cannot stand it when writers and directors in modern entertainment feel the need to spoon-feed the audience everything. If you let people interpret your characters how they see fit, trust me, it's going to have a much better outcome and your show will be much more well received.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
All we really needed to know in this situation to get the audience invested was that these two women have competing ideologies. That's it. Alicent believes that Rhaenyra is disrespecting the crown and her family by having illegitimate children. And Rhaenyra is very much a person who feels like she should be able to do whatever she wants without consequence and without judgment. But here's the thing, as much as Rhaenyra denies these allegations, we all know that they're true. So again, this whole thing just made Rhaenyra look bad in a lot of different ways.
No, don't like that.
Viserys, as always, is blissfully ignorant about what's going on around him, or maybe he's just in denial. I will say this, I do think there is one disadvantage story-wise to race-swapping the Valerians. When Laenor's kids very clearly do not look like him, it kind of eliminates any possible uncertainty in that conflict. Everything is pretty much straightforward at that point. So there are suspicions around the son of the Hand of the King, Harwin Strong, because he shows a lot of love and admiration for Rhaenyra and her children. So he is suspected through a large portion of this episode to be their real father.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
This ultimately causes a fight between him and Sir Criston, who is still very bitter by the way, and apparently Sir Criston went completely unpunished for his outburst at the end of episode 5, which I'm not really sure that makes a lot of sense to me either. And then we have Daemon in this episode, who seems a lot more tame and reserved than we have typically come to see him in this series. He married Lyanna at some point and had twins with her, and she's also pregnant with another child. I'm just wondering how these children play into the greater continuity that is already established in Game of Thrones. Lyanna has complications during her labor and she can't deliver the baby. And rather than choosing to save the baby and have it cut out of her like we've already seen in this series, she decides to go to her dragon and have her dragon kill her and her unborn child.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now, it's not made very clear whether or not she knew that the child still had a chance to live, but this is a situation where it's very hard to see things from her perspective, especially after it seemed like Daemon himself was very uncertain about how to handle this situation, and we know how ruthless he can be. He also seemed very cold towards the situation, as well as the twins after their mother's death. So I guess we'll have to wait and see where that goes, but it doesn't really seem like he's in a situation where he is happy.
Why do you cry?
The episode comes to a conclusion after Rhaenyra attempts to extend an olive branch to the Queen. That may or may not have been a legitimate gesture depending on who you ask. Alicent instead kind of mocks Rhaenyra and brings attention to her leaky breasts in a council meeting instead of giving her an answer.
Tits! Whew.
This causes Rhaenyra to retreat to an abandoned Dragonstone where she believes her and her children will have a better life. So she's basically now just fed up and running away from these allegations. Also, the Hand's younger son, Lyristrong, is now acting as a secret counsel of some sorts to the Queen, and he kind of takes something Alicent says way too literally, and he goes as far as to organize the murder of his father, the Hand of the King, as well as his brother Rhaenyra's not-so-secret love interest. It's clear that this man is going to be the House of the Dragon's personification of evil, something we've seen in characters like Littlefinger, for instance. Someone that will do pretty much anything to further their cause.
I don't give a fuck.
Alicent doesn't even know what to make of his actions, even though she does technically benefit greatly from them. I admire the fact that they're keeping with Game of Thrones tradition and making a lot of the characters somewhat morally ambiguous, because we know nothing is simple, nothing is that black and white in Westeros.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
I thought that this was another solid episode despite all the outside noise around it. It seems like modern entertainment and the people who create it are constantly self-sabotaging themselves. In this case, making the show about everything except what we come to love about Game of Thrones. I don't want to hear that Game of Thrones is problematic because of its treatment of LGBTQ characters. Just like I don't want to hear that this show is somehow less racist because they race-swapped a few characters.
That's racist.
Keep it about the backstabbing, keep it about the power struggles, keep it about the fighting, keep it about the dragons. Keep Game of Thrones in the fantasy realm where it belongs. Because when you try to inject modern ideologies into places where they do not belong, that typically results in failure. Don't believe me? Just ask the countless other franchises that strayed a little bit too far away from what made them popular in the first place. It's escapism. Let's leave it at that so everybody can find enjoyment in it.
Y'all be cool. Nah.